All right, welcome everybody to Web and Beyond Live for September 21st, 2020. I'm Ray Sidney Smith, president of W3 Consulting and managing director of W3C Web Services. Each week I come to you live so that we can talk about what's happening in the world of small business digital marketing and really how the news and other things that are happening in the world of social media and marketing generally are affecting small businesses. And so today I want to cover really three big umbrella of things, some minor updates about some of the changes going on, but primarily the two other pieces I want to talk about are really some YouTube updates and TikTok updates, what's happening in the world of TikTok and this deal and how it affects small businesses, and then a little bit about talking about the future of digital marketing, really in this latter stage of the pandemic where we're kind of in a stable panic, if you want to call it that, but we're in a dynamic situation and things are consistently changing. And then really subsequent to that, dealing with what's going to stick subsequent to the pandemic in terms of digital marketing. Okay, so with that, I want to just briefly talk about the TikTok deal. So if you hadn't heard, over the weekend, Bloomberg and other news outlets are reporting that the president has, quote unquote, blessed a deal between TikTok and Oracle and Walmart. So ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, will create a new company called TikTok Global that is supposed to be publicly traded as of a year from now, sometime within the next year. And 20% would be owned by Walmart and Oracle, and the other 80% would be owned by TikTok proper. And in effect, just dealing with some of the weird minutia, this would represent something like a 53% U.S. ownership of that company, while TikTok retains the balance, so be majority owned that. But in terms of actual power control over, decisions and management authority and so on and so forth, it's really still TikTok that would manage those pieces. I find this to be a little bit obtuse, and I want to kind of explain this through for you in terms of how the deal is supposed to move forward. So in essence, Trump and the White House are really talking about TikTok as a national security risk. From a small business perspective, we all have to recognize the fact that this is a huge benefit to business owners who want to get in front of particular demographics, and there's a wide variety of demographics on TikTok. And funny enough, though, TikTok grew in terms of its popularity by pumping billions of dollars of advertising into Facebook. So we know that a lot of the people who were who defected from Facebook, Instagram, and otherwise to TikTok as a platform came from Facebook. So they're Facebook and Instagram users already. And so we have to really recognize that when we're talking about small business. This is one of the ongoing reasons why maybe I haven't fleshed this out completely for you, which is that the reason why I'm not that bullish on TikTok is that many of those people are already on Instagram, they're already on Facebook, they're already on Snapchat. So to think that you're not going to get in front of those people that are already on those platforms by going, that you're going to only get them on TikTok is kind of foolish in nature. They're already on one of those platforms, and if TikTok disappears, they will be on one of those platforms. And to a great extent, at least from the reporting I've been seeing, many of the folks who were initially on TikTok and enjoy TikTok have gone back to Instagram and Instagram Reels to enjoy themselves there. So really no loss for us who are trying to market to those people. If you have galvanized a community in and on one of those platforms, an audience on one of those platforms as well, you're not really at much of a loss. So that part, as much I'm clear on, and I'm not particularly worried about. But if we flash forward now to the deal that's on the table, the U.S. actually doesn't win out here. So a couple things that people are not aware of. TikTok's data, while the White House administration has been talking about this being worried about China having hold of U.S. Americans' details and data. that has all actually been hosted in Google Cloud in the United States. The data has not left the United States. So to say that somehow China was exfiltrating that data to its own servers in China is false. And so we have to be very, very mindful about the disinformation that's coming out of our highest levels of government right now. And it's not to be conspiratorial, it is just fact. And so as a small business owner, your goal is to be able to get in front of people and persuade them to work with you. And if TikTok is the platform in which you want to do that, it sounds to me like that will continue to be the case. But let's not get caught up in the details of what misinformation or disinformation is being given in that regard. So all that's happening right now is that the president has a relationship with Oracle's chairman, Larry Ellison, and he is forcing that data to go from Google to Oracle, which are competitors in the database and cloud hosting world. And that is, in essence, just basically moving U.S. data, Americans' data from one set of servers to another. That's really all that's happening here. There is a little bit of greater American economic benefit potentially in having TikTok Global, this U.S. company that will then be traded publicly in the U.S. stock market. And that will provide TikTok with actually greater financial leverage, which will flow back to China because it is dominantly and majority controlled by a Chinese company. So altogether, I think TikTok made out really well in this deal. They got a lot of publicity out of this program, this whole drama and kind of traumatic event for them, I'm sure, on one level, but really on the other side, they couldn't have bought another $1 billion worth of public relations benefit than they could have gotten out of here. And I'll be curious to see how Facebook and Twitter and other platforms, Snapchat and Pinterest, really behind the scenes start to try and make inroads into this kind of TikTok feature. That is the Instagram Reels. I'm gonna guess that Snapchat and maybe even Pinterest will make inroads in these ways. So, from my perspective, all of this teaches us one thing, which is that when we see a new type of story format, a new type of technology being developed, we should really start to see how it's going to be applied in the major platforms that have the technological availability, that is the resources to be able to make this happen on those platforms. And so obviously Instagram Reels is already here, and so we should be taking advantage of that. If we're able to. And then next up is thinking about, okay, well, what happens in 6 months when Snapchat decides? I don't know their roadmap, but I bet you that Snapchat's going to think about doing something akin to what TikTok does. Maybe Pinterest. Both are visual social networks, and it would make a lot of sense for them to go in that direction. So we have to really think about those things a few steps forward, and then I'm going to leave it at that. I think that ultimately TikTok will not go away in the US, but I'm not particularly interested in fighting that uphill battle of a new platform and how that's going to really bear out in the market when we have other platforms that, at least a major platform, which is Facebook and Instagram, that have the Instagram Reels functionality and will soon probably come to other platforms. So I'm not particularly excited. And we know those users are already on those platforms because that's where they came from, right? The majority of those users came from Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat from all the advertising TikTok did. So if they're just using that as a basis for it, it doesn't really excite me to go to a platform where there may be new eyes. There is a clear opportunity here for people who want to use the platform, but I'm not engaging or encouraging anyone to really change courses because of this platform. Okay, enough about that. Let's move on to a little bit of discussion about YouTube. So YouTube has recently published some new updates to their advertiser content guidelines. They're calling this advertiser-friendly content guidelines in air quotes, and so this is really useful for all of us to kind of take kind of a stock in what's going on at YouTube and how they're really changing their dynamic on things. So the way that I kind of try to think about it is that we have YouTube, and also think about this from an advertising perspective, right? When we're thinking about advertising, as I said, TikTok went ahead and they pumped a whole bunch of money into Facebook and Instagram to be able to bring users over. They pumped money into Snapchat and other platforms to be able to do that. We as small business owners don't have billions of dollars to be spending on advertising, but we do have some budget to be able to advertise, and we have to start thinking about what kind of budget we're using for advertising going forward. Social media has matured to that state where they are no longer going to be giving away organic reach in the same way they once did. If you have an audience, that's great because you can always bring an audience from one place to another on some level. But to start from zero and think that you're going to be able to go to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 followers or millions of followers in a short period of time, it's just no longer going to happen. We have to be mindful of that going forward, that these platforms are going to suppress content so that they can force businesses to advertise in order to get in front of people. Okay, so just be mindful of that. That being the case, YouTube has gone ahead and attempted to provide advertiser-friendly content guidelines, and they provide them here. This is really quite useful for people to be able to click on the guidelines themselves, and once you go to the quote-unquote advertiser-friendly guidelines, as they said, they've in essence organized the article in these topic areas so that you can just quickly understand what you can put on YouTube as ads, what you can't, and so on and so forth for different ad types as well. So that's really, really useful. I suggest you go ahead and go to this article. I'll put links to this in the video notes, but they will now in the platform, you are able to go ahead and subscribe to the page, and that gives you the ability to go ahead and see these updates when they happen. You'll get a notification, and that way you can not have to keep coming back to the update page all the time. You can now say, oh, this is the page I was looking at. There we go. So here you see you can subscribe to this page. I am subscribed to it, which is why it says unsubscribe, but you can subscribe to it, and then it will send you an email anytime this page has changed, which just makes it really useful to kind of understand what's going on at any given time. So that's very useful. Next is YouTube has brought up a new ability for you to be able to add a new type of person to access your YouTube channel. And so, for example, I have staff members who are working on the YouTube channel separate from me, and I want them to be able to access that YouTube channel. And now they've given this editor limited role, which can upload and edit videos. They can also delete draft videos, but they can't add and remove other people. They can't delete videos or the channel, and all of the revenue and financial information is now no longer viewable by the editor in the editor limited role. And so it's a really great task if you have virtual assistants or other kinds of staff members who shouldn't be seeing that data, or you don't want them to see that data. You can now limit them in that sense. And you can also have viewers of your channel. So say you have a private video, you can create a viewer who is limited to that particular channel detail. So they can view, but they can't edit the channel details, and that's really useful as well. So new permissions, now you can choose the right permissions that you want to. You can do that from studio.youtube.com. Also note that the studio environment has been updated. So if you haven't been to YouTube Studio in a while, I would highly recommend that you just go in and go to studio.youtube.com, go to your channel, and just look around the whole interface. I think it's really imperative that people start getting comfortable with both YouTube as well as YouTube ads and figuring out what kind of the next steps are going to be for your business in moving that piece forward in terms of, are you going to put some ad spend into YouTube? This is very powerful for being able to bring on new buyers, and we know that we've got eyeballs on YouTube and lots of eyeballs on YouTube. And if I were TikTok, I would have probably put a lot more advertising dollars into Google ads on YouTube than on Facebook. But either way, they got they got where they needed to go, and they were already hosting on Google Cloud. I bet you they could have now negotiated a pretty good rate, but they didn't, and so that's what it is. Anyway, moving forward, I had a little bit of errata from it's not errata. It was I didn't add a particular item into the news from the social media updates that I was giving last month, and I just wanted to make sure that I corrected for that. So one thing that I unfortunately didn't mention last week was that Facebook, in all of the things it added in the last month, is it added this new free paid online events function. What I mean by free is that they're giving you as a Facebook page creator the ability to create paid online events, and it'll be a free tool for at least a year. And then after a year, I don't know what the payment function is going to be. They haven't quite made that available yet, but this is really, really interesting. So I am, as I've noted before, very cautious about allowing Facebook to control your entire presence. But for those who want to charge for, say, a virtual summit or a virtual workshop, or if you're teaching an online class or any of those kinds of things, Facebook is now giving you the ability to put a paywall on top of any event. And that means that you can now start charging for things and making money from your Facebook activity if you have an audience there, or if you want to, say, run an event and then advertise against that event to bring people to it. I'm thinking about doing this myself just to test for purposes of maybe teaching a one-day workshop or maybe a 3-hour webinar or something like that, and saying, okay, well, I'll charge X dollars for that event, and then I'll run ads against it. And if the CPA on that, cost per action, is $1, $2, even $10, if you're charging $100 or so for that event, then you're making $90 on at least gross against ads, or net against ads. And so that's a pretty good turnaround in terms of being able to bring on new people. And of course, those people then get added to your email database and can be brought into future events as well. So I'm curious about the acquisition cost through this mechanism for online events. Live events are always, very powerful ways to bring in new people, new acquisition of new customers. And I'm curious how this all will pan out. In essence, though, you have a paywall that is put into place. You have Apple and Android payment flows on the mobile environment. They're promising no fees for the year. And you can go ahead and do this if the platform gives you access to it. So you'll see a notification in your system that says, hey, set up your online payments. It has you go ahead and figure out some, finish some details related to it, and then you're good to go on that level. Okay. Let me know if you've used it, by the way. I'm very curious about this. Like I said, I'm going to try it out myself, but I'm really curious on how that will all work out. Next up, I just wanted to make a quick note about this. WordPress has released a new theme they're calling Seedlet. And Seedlet is a theme that is fully powered by the block editor. So if you are using WordPress 5.0 or later, you have always been in the block editor environment now, unless you forced it not to, and by installing the classic editor or otherwise. But the idea here is that it's a block-based environment, meaning that you have these containers for the types of content you're working in. So maybe you have an image container, or maybe you have a text container, or otherwise you can embed content and so on and so forth. Seedlet is the first WordPress theme to be completely designed using and utilizing the functions of the block editor. And so if you have not yet launched your website, or you're looking to launch your website, this is available in and on the WordPress theme gallery. So you'll be able to utilize that in the theme gallery and find it there. So let me know if you decide to use it and what you use it for. I'm curious. I've played around with it a little bit. It's a nice theme. I don't have any reason to use it, but if you're starting out or you're looking for a change of WordPress theme, check out the theme Seedlet and see how working with a theme that is purely block editor focused is out there for you. Okay, I don't want to focus too much on that because then it'll get geeky and But I am happy to answer questions about what that all means. So Robin from Startup to Growth is asking, do you know if Facebook allows PayPal payments on their new feature? And the answer is no. Facebook's using their own internal payment functions. So you have to connect your Facebook business account to the system, and that's how the payments are taken. And then you can pay out from that Facebook account however you'd like. I think to a bank account or something like that. But the idea here is that it's taking payments through Facebook, and so the payment workflow is done that way. Okay. All right. So that really takes me to my final thoughts today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of current state of the pandemic and really what we want to do coming out of this. So the way in which I perceive this, and I can't say that I've got the answer, but this is the way I'm thinking about this. Most of us have made some level of changes as it relates to our businesses, both from an operational perspective as well as from a marketing perspective. And I wanted to just spend a few minutes talking through what my current thoughts are for clients in how they need to think about their both digital marketing and their digital operations, right? Because W3 Consulting is all about helping small businesses market and manage on the web and beyond. And we're really focused on how those two pieces together form a strong, cohesive both brand as well as business, profitable business throughout this pandemic. And so as I said, businesses have made changes both from an operations perspective. Some people have had to have teams go remote. Some have had to shut down for periods of time and reopen. And some have invested heavily in both digital marketing, but as well as digital infrastructure. Now we have QR codes on restaurant tables where people are scanning QR codes. They're putting in restaurant menu selections in their own mobile phones that are then going to the restaurant's point of sale system and restaurant management system and queuing up their orders. And then that way servers can bring them out all in at least the not contactless, but as least contact as possible to keep people safe and secure in this environment. And so in that base level example versus my business, which went completely virtual, and now we are doing all of our one-to-one advisory work via video technologies and remotely. The entire team has gone remote, so we are no longer meeting in our office and probably won't into the very distant future, if ever again. And so we're making that decision as to whether or not we're going to keep our office, right? If we are not going to be there, maybe we just need a co-working space for our general meetings, our larger company meetings. But if it's just us meeting one-to-one, we're not physically situate near each other, so it will just be a matter of doing it via Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or otherwise. And then there's the delivery of those services, which we have a new kind of understanding of curbside delivery, shipping, and local delivery through other platforms like Uber and otherwise that allow for short distance delivery that we didn't otherwise maybe have an understanding of before. And there are new businesses out there that are doing all of these things. I actually heard from a friend of mine that in New York City there's a company that is going around and doing coronavirus testing, and they are coming to your apartment or home and doing that testing for you. So they're bringing the swabs and all the stuff so that they can do the testing and bring it to your door and bring it back to the laboratory so that you don't even have to go anywhere to be able to get that testing done. And this kind of last mile delivery mechanisms that are happening, I think are really, really powerful. And more than that, I think that we're going to see more people change their behaviors enough in certain verticals that it will not go back to the way it was before the pandemic started. And so in your business, I want to encourage you to start thinking, well, what are the things that happened during the pandemic that you feel are going to stay? What things actually benefited you? Like, are there things about your business and the way you run your business better today because of your ability to do these things with greater technology? Are there things that you really would like to have come back again? Some of you will want to go back to your offices and see people. I know I'm looking forward to seeing my clients face to face again someday, but the in person as opposed to just on the screen. But the reality is that there are some aspects of the business that will not go back to being the same. I know that for me, I think most of our training is going to stay online now. We've proven our ability to be able to do it effectively in the cloud, and so I think a lot of our clients are just going to want to continue to have that be done in the cloud, and that means that customers are not having to travel to be able to access information, which means it's more affordable. And there are many benefits to doing things online. Not everything, but many things. So I want you to start thinking, okay, what parts changed in your business today, and what parts do you need to start thinking about in terms of the change afterward? This also takes us to the next level, which is from a marketing perspective. If you're marketing in a particular vertical and you have been marketing digitally to an audience that at one point needed to change, but will be going back to a kind of new normal, you have to start guessing at what that new normal is and then figuring out what the marketing strategy is going to be in that phase. Now, I think we're in a moving dynamic, which means that there's really no ability for you to think about what you can do in the next, say, October, November, December timeframe that's going to be remarkably different than what we've been doing, kind of muddling through since February. Or March for those of you who kind of locked down a little bit later. But the idea here is that after that, say April, I'm going to guess April, May timeframe, once people have gotten, in the general public, not just essential workers and frontline workers in the pandemic. Once we generally, and I'm thinking April, May timeframe is probably a good guess here, start to get the vaccines. Not everybody will get them, but people will start getting them at that point. I think we'll need to start thinking about what that looks like for us, because it's going to take us 6 months to really plan out the right marketing strategy, to figure out what budgets look like, how we're going to get all those infrastructures. One of the big problems I found is that at the beginning of the pandemic, and the people who could work remotely, for those of us, like you who are watching me right now, you might have the benefit of being able to work remotely, to move to a virtual environment, to do that business pivoting. And when that happened, every webcam went out of stock. You couldn't get a webcam anymore. You couldn't get all of these pieces that you needed. People were thinking about getting lighting and new computers. Think about Chromebooks right now in the midst of everyone going back to school. You can't get a Chromebook online today because they're all sold out. Well, in 6 months, what are you going to need that you can buy now so that in 6 months you're not failing and flailing to get those pieces into inventory and those products into inventory to be able to make that pivot in terms of both marketing but also operations. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's a really good time now. We've got at least a good 5 to 6 months of thinking about this stuff and starting to get the pieces in place. And if you have questions and thoughts and otherwise, feel free to share them with me, and I'm happy to kick the tires with you and figure out what those pieces are so that you can get those in place. And so with that, we've come to the end of our time together this week. Oh, I just wanted to make a note here. Robin is noting from Startup to Growth, Robin is noting another area of change is networking, virtual versus in person. She thinks the virtual networking aspect will remain strong post-pandemic, and the same thing on virtual retreats. And I think I agree with you, Robin. I think that there will still be quite a bit of virtual events, and virtual networking, I think, is still has some room to grow. I think people have not yet quite gotten their head wrapped around the notion of it, but I think that the technology is getting so much better than it was before. And so from a one-to-one virtual networking perspective, that's really good. From a group-based virtual networking perspective, the technology still needs to be worked out. But I think there are really a lot of great technologies out there that are doing that. Remo, if you haven't seen or experienced Remo, definitely try Remo. Certainly Zoom allows for small group networking, where if you have 50 or 60 people in a Zoom environment, you can go into breakout rooms, and those are smaller group environments where people can do more networking. There are lots of ways in which you can do it. It's just that I don't think that the at least the U.S.-based virtual networking market has really picked up the strength enough in that category, but I think it's getting there. And I know that I've been testing out these small business virtual roundtables at the start of each month, and I'll be posting those in. Thank you, Robin. This reminds me to let everybody know that I do have a new virtual community, and it's called Web and Beyond community. And so if you go to the URL on the screen, you can go ahead and join us. It's webandbeyond.community. And when you go to that, you can sign up. You'll have to wait for me to approve you, and then you can go ahead and join the business community. But in line with that, I'm also doing these roundtables at the beginning of each month. And so the roundtables are an opportunity to do some networking and to meet each other and grow and learn about different business concepts over time. So feel free to join Web and Beyond community, and inside of Web and Beyond community are where the roundtables will be posted and all kinds of other fun things related to digital marketing and otherwise. As I said, thank you all for joining. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And again, I'm Ray Sidney Smith on behalf of W3 Consulting and W3C Web Services. Here's to your, success, I suppose, marketing and managing on the web and beyond. Take care, everybody.